Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Inner Changemaker. We got a changemaker for you. We got businessman and life coach Aaron Walker, who has inspired many through his leadership, mentorship, and consistent pursuit of excellence. Aaron is somebody who is the real deal. I'm going to tell you why, because he sold his first business to a Fortune 500 company at 27 years old, and he's really been on a path of just growing businesses, selling businesses ever since. He's had 35 years of entrepreneurship and marriage. And one of the things I was telling Aaron right before we hopped on was I loved how much he infused his family and his personal life into the content that he creates. So he has a lot of experience that we are going to get a chance to learn from. And he is also the author of the new book, View from the Top, Living a Life of Significance, here to tell us how we can do that in our own lives. Welcome to the show, Aaron.
Hey, Jay, thank you for having me on the Inner Changemaker. Man, when I saw your tagline, legacy over currency, I said, I've got to get on that show, whatever I've got to do. And man, you so graciously invited me. Thank you, man. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Well, you know, Aaron, a couple things, right? I wrote in my notes, I was like, call him Big A. I was like, let's introduce him as Big A because that's how I want to start things off. But, you know, on an honest note, I mean, I was looking into... And Aaron, I got to be honest with you. I try not to have as many life coaches, business coaches on the show. And there's nothing against that because it's just that, as you can imagine, there's a lot of business coaches and life coaches. And we get pitched a lot. And I started looking into your story, and I'm glad we got a chance to actually meet when we were both like in at Podfest and speaking at Podfest. So, but I mean, you got some amazing interviews, you know, with Pat Flynn. I know the one with John Lee Dumas recently came out, Jordan Harbinger, and we're going to tell the folks at the end of this how they can actually get some of these exclusive interviews that you've been able to do. But I mean, I'm just curious, from a content creator, as a young entrepreneur myself, how does it feel to know that your message, your story, is resonating with so many different humans and men in particular around the world?
Yeah, well, here's the thing, Jay. It didn't always feel that way to me because I was chasing success like most guys are early on. I didn't have anything when I was a kid. Literally, we lived in a $6,500 house when I was a kid. Then we lost it in bankruptcy, right? I mean, how do you lose a $6,500 house in bankruptcy? I was 7 years old. We had to move in with our cousins. My mom used to put canned goods in the pantry and nail a board over it during the summer. So in the winter, we'd have something to eat. So, man, dude, I know all about being poor, right? And I was running from something, not to something as a teenager. I didn't want to live like that. We had food. We had a place to live, but that's it. And I'm like, man, there's got to be more to this. And so I found a couple of guys that had some money. Started my first business at 18. And I was all about the money. I was all about, I'm going to make it. And we did. At 27, sold out to a Fortune 500 company. Then we built another company over the next 10 years. And I just knew that there was more, though, to life than just success. Then I had a real pivotal point in my life where I ran over and killed a pedestrian August 1st, 2001. And man, you talking about your life changing.
Yeah. Right? I mean, that's so crazy. You know, Aaron, before we get so deep into this, let me ask you this, like, as an 18-year-old, because I know you've, you know, I always say we've lived so many lives, right? There's so many different junctures of the up and down of just our life. When you're 18, like, what gave you that idea? Because I think it was like a pawn shop you're at.
Yeah, it
was. And so what kind of sparked it? Like, how did you know that partnership was going to work, or did you know it was going to work, or did you just pitch it? Like, you know, as young entrepreneurs that are listening to the show, like, what is there anything that you were thinking of at that time that might be able to help them kind of think about starting that first leg of their business?
My wife, Robin, said I came out of the womb working, right? So I've worked my entire life. You know, I started at 9 years old in this little store, and then at 13 years old, I started working in this pawn shop and loved it. And at 15 years old, I decided that's what I was going to do for a living. So I went to summer school and night school for 18 months. I had enough credits at the beginning of my junior year of high school to graduate. So I didn't have to go my junior and senior year of high school. So I worked every single day. I met a couple of guys that had some money, and I just went up to them one day and I thought, you know what? The answer is always no unless you ask, right? Always. So I go up to the guys and I said, I mean, I had nothing to lose. I didn't have anything anyway. And I said, listen, why don't we take your money and my experience? And they said, experience? How old are you? And I said, I'm 18. He said, how much experience could you have at 18? I said, I started here at 13. I know how to run this business and I'm ready to go. If you've got the money, we'll form a partnership and we'll go. And they started laughing at first. And they said, we've never had anybody 18 pitch us. And I'm like, hey, I got nothing to lose, right? So why not? Well, they checked on me and they found out I was a pretty good guy. And so they agreed to do it. So it cost $150,000 to open this store in the 70s. And that was a lot of money, Jay, in the 70s, especially to an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
And so I said, I got nothing to lose, right? So why don't I go for it? And I did. See, I pushed through an upper limit challenge early on. And that's what holds us back today is we have these upper limit challenges or we're afraid of no. It's like, right? It's like, man, what if they say no? Well, what if they do say no? Right? It doesn't matter. It's like, hey, they're not going to come looking for you. Those guys didn't come looking for me. You've got to make your way. You've got to go out there in life. I had a guy came in my store, and when you're young, you're kind of stupid and you ask questions you probably shouldn't. This guy came in dressed in a suit, and I was about 16, 17 years old, and had a real nice Cadillac he was in. He pulled up in front of the store, and he walked in. I said, hey, have you got a minute? He said, sure. And I said, how did you get so much money? And he started laughing. Yeah. And he goes, let me tell you something, young man. He said, it's out there equal for everybody. You just got to reach out and get your piece. And that has never left me. And I thought, you know what? I've got to make my way. I've got to reach out there and go for it. He said, God's put it out there equal for everybody, but you've got to decide to go forward. You've got to decide to reach out. And I decided that day, hey, I was going to go for it. And I've adopted that. No's always the answer unless you ask. I'm not afraid to get a no. It doesn't bother me. I don't take it personal. A lot of people are fearful. That's what holds them back. And I say fear missing an opportunity more than you fear failure. And if you're willing to adopt that principle in your life, you'll get over being afraid. And so I just went up to them. They agreed to it. And then we paid a 10-year loan off in 36 months. I poured all the money back into the company. I was 21 years old, had a paid-for business, and we replicated that 4 times.
And that was the catalyst that kind of started you on this adventure, this journey.
Yeah.
And that's so crazy. So I mean, I love what you said right there, because I think so many people, it is about going out there and knowing what you want. And I hope you guys that are watching and listening to this, I know even though we're just like kind of starting and diving in, you know why I had to bring Aaron on the show, right? So I hope you guys are following him on Twitter. He's VFT Coach, View from the Top, YouTube, Aaron Walker. And he is just, he's always so inspiring. But Aaron, like, walk us through, I know you were just about to dive into that story of
before you go there, though, I want to go back because I feel compelled to say something right here to guys that are young.
Yeah.
See, early on, I had that one opportunity and I put my head down. Greg McCowan talks about it in his book, Essentialism. He said, the problem with America today is we're an inch deep and a mile wide. And there's so many opportunities out there today for people. They can't decide. They have so many choices. They're paralyzed. And I want to encourage you to be an inch wide and a mile deep. Really niche down into your area of expertise, put blinders on. And one of the best things that you can possibly do for your success is have a written plan. Now, we're recording this in June, right?
Yes.
I know right now I have a Google document and we facilitate mastermind groups. Jay, listen, I have every day from now through December planned. I know what I'm doing each and every day. I have every theme for the month. I have every book I'm going to read. I have all the blogs written that I'm going to post between now and December, the titles. I know every single guest I'm going to interview between now and December. I have those scheduled on my calendar. I'm a guest on podcasts regularly, and those are scheduled regularly. I know what I'm doing. And so when the shiny object syndrome comes, I look at my list and I go, you know what? It's not on my list. It's going to be a good thing and it's going to work for you, but it's not going to work for me because it's not on my plan. Brian Moran wrote a book called The 12-Week Year. That book has revolutionized the lives of many of my mastermind people. Absolutely, they're crushing it because procrastination is our enemy. And we say, hey, if I don't get it done today, I'll get it done tomorrow. If not tomorrow, next month, not next month, next quarter. We keep kicking the can down the road. Well, Brian Moran's plan, the 12-week year, says these are the lead indicators. These are the tasks I've got to do today. Quit focusing on the goal, quit focusing on the dream, and focus on the task. And if you do these tasks every single day, you'll get the goal. The dream will come, and you can get more accomplished in a focused 12-week plan than you can annually. So you've got to write down what you want to do so that you stay focused. If you don't, it's just a dream. It's not a goal.
And it's up there. You got to make it tangible. I love that though. That has not gotten mentioned actually on the podcast. 12 weeks, 90 days. It's always great because I think 90 days is it's kind of like how far your mind can even imagine out. Right. So that's why a lot of times, coming from a business school, people want to create the 3-year plan, the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan. It's like, man, I think we should maybe just focus on the next 90 days and maybe executing. But let me ask you a follow-up question, because I think a lot of millennials, a lot of people that are maybe listening or watching this, they go, Aaron, I get what you're saying, but how do I pick? Like, I have so many things that I want to be great at. I want to change the world. I want to do these things, and I want to impact millions, right? But how did you, how do you put those blinders on?
Yeah, here's the thing. I love the art of a deal, right? I love adventure.
Yeah.
I go to a guy that coaches me, and he said, Avery, you do something pretty radical every 36 months because I'm a creator developer. I'm not a maintainer manager. See, there's all different kinds of personalities. I know that I need something new going on all the time because when it becomes, mundane, I get bored. I'm ready to go to the next thing. So I know that, and that's the reason I've started 12 businesses now. I'm on number 13 and 14 right now. And for me, it's the art of the deal. It's figuring it out. See, I've not been in this space but 4 years. Well, as a result of our focus, and I'm not saying this boastful, Jay, and you know that because you know me, but we've done okay in this space. We have 8 mastermind groups that are full. I have clients nationally and internationally. We've been on over 400 interviews in the past 30 months because we're focused. See, there's so many other things I could do. Opportunities come when you're more successful. There's more opportunities, but I don't want to be in every lane. I want to be in my lane. I want to be the best at what we do. When people say mastermind or coaching, I want them to go, that's synonymous with Aaron Walker or Iron Sharpens Iron or View from the Top. I want my name to be synonymous with that. Here's the example. It'd be like going to the heart doctor and him go, by the way, I'm a podiatrist also. And I'm like, get me another heart doctor. I don't want you working on my feet. I want you working on my heart. Right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what we do as entrepreneurs. Hey, I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. It's like nobody knows who you are. Nobody knows how to identify you. The best advice I could give you is to niche down. And just before you launch, niche down 50% more, and you may be getting close to where you need to be. People need to know who you are and what you do. I know who my avatar is exactly. I know what he thinks about. I know what he reads. I know the blogs he reads, the podcast that he listens to. I know his age demographics. I know every single thing about my avatar. And I don't think about the other guys. I go to where my guys are. We're on 3 social media tools. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. That's what I use. They say, Big A, you're missing it on Pinterest and Instagram. My clients are not on Pinterest. They're not on there. I don't need to fool with everything. See, I'm an inch wide, but we're a mile deep, and that's what you need to do. So what you need to do is find out, first of all, what gives you passion. But let me say this, passion won't keep you there, nor will money. If you don't have a purpose, you won't stay there long term. See, my purpose is helping ordinary men become extraordinary. It's what gets me out of bed every day. It's about taking the Jays of the world, and you call me and say, dude, you rock my world. You help me understand success. You help me understand significance. And because of that, my life is better as a result of having known you, and my life is going to be better, and the ripple effect that it's going to have in other people's lives. See, that's purpose. It started with passion. Now I know what my purpose is. I don't even want to go to bed at night. I lay down and like, I can't wait to get up because I get to do it again. If you don't feel that way about what you're doing, quit. As Bob Newhart says, stop it. Go quit right now today and find something that you have purpose in and meaning in, that you have. Life is too short, man. It's fragile. It can be taken away like that. And believe me, in the accident, I know we deviated from that, but here's what I discovered in that. So I'm going to work 7:30 in the morning. Life is good. We got a place on the beach, big house here, business. I'm working 3 days a week. I got all that stuff. In that moment, it didn't matter. I ran over and killed a 77-year-old man from the Philippines that day. You talking about your life coming to a screeching halt? Mine did. So make a long story short, he lived 3 days in the Vanderbilt trauma unit. They called me on Saturday. It was on Wednesday when it happened. Said, Mr. Walker, I'm sorry, but he didn't make it. Well, I'm going to tell you, man, I didn't leave my bedroom for 3 days. I cried. I didn't know what to do. I called the family against my attorney. He said, don't call him. I called him. I said, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So I called, I talked to him, gave my apologies and condolences, and just said, hey, I'm sorry. So anyway, I take off. I sell my business. I spend the next 5 years traveling. I didn't do anything. I didn't work. We traveled extensively. We built a new house. And I had to get my feet back under me, right? Listen, I'm telling you today, if you've had a financial tragedy or you've had a relationship catastrophe, you can recover from that. And I talk about that in my book a lot. I help you overcome these tragedies in your life. And many people watching this have had some kind of tragedy in your life. Don't let that define you, right? Your life is not over. You can't help it. It's behind you. You can't change one thing that happened yesterday. All I'm interested in is today forward. That's all I'm interested in anymore. That's why the windshield's so big and the rearview mirror is so small. Occasionally glance back there for context. Look outward because there's such an adventuresome life out there that we could live. And my wife shook me. She goes, you got to go. Because you owe it to the family, you owe it to the community, and we did. We went on to build 3 or 4 other successful businesses as a result of that. And that's how you got to make your decisions. It's like, what is in your heart? What are you feeling that gives you that sense of purpose and meaning? I'm just telling you because I've made money. I have. Over the years, I've made money. And when you get it, you go, well, this is sweet. And I don't want to take away from that. I like it. I love to make money, right? Yeah. Broke people can't help people financially. So I want to make more money.
Preach, Aaron. Preach.
There's things that is true. But listen, there's an element of significance that we're missing today. It's not all about Jay. It's not all about Aaron. There's other people out there. Here's what's cool. Let me teach you a little story here. Here's what's cool, though. When you invest 20 or 25% of your time edifying other people, encouraging them, lifting them up, endorsing them, helping them, anonymously helping people because it does something in you, here's what happens. You become the light in the room and everybody wants to be around you. And now they buy your widgets or your service and it makes you more successful, right? So you go to bed at night saying, hey, I did the right thing. And also the natural reciprocity comes back to you. It's just a great way to live. But when you're selfish and it's all about the success, really, quite honestly, nobody wants to be around you. And that soon finds you out. And when you get that stuff, you find out it didn't scratch the itch like you thought it was going to. Jay, relationships are number one. It's your best asset. It is absolutely what's going to take you forward. So when you start looking for the thing that you want to do, if you don't have that zeal, you don't have that passion, you haven't found it yet. So I just say keep looking.
I mean, Aaron, you covered so much ground there, and I loved it. I mean, I was so engaged. I was writing down all the different things. I got to ask you, because, I mean, having a podcast is all about, I don't even know when I'll get a chance to ask you. I'm sure we will. But when you went through that accident, I mean, that sounds like a horrific type of experience for anybody to go through for all parties. How did maybe you don't have to go into super details, but how did you just, like, after everything, leave and you were able to do that? Or was there, like, were there no, like, I don't know, like, what were the circumstances that allowed you to be able to do that from the accident?
Well, Jay, here's the thing, first of all, and I want to point this out. I don't want to preach a sermon, but I'm a person of faith, right? And so my faith is primary in my life. It's paramount. It's number one. Christ is my Savior, and it's number one. So I go there for all sources of strength. And if I didn't have that, I don't know what I would have done, right? So I had people come around me out of my church. I had counselors. I had coaches. Listen, you don't kill somebody and get over it. You just don't. You got to have the grace from a higher power to learn to deal with it. And that's what I did over time. And it took time. It took years to learn to deal with that, because that's somebody's husband. It's somebody's dad. It was somebody's brother. It was somebody's partner, right? And so you start thinking about that. It's pretty heavy. I didn't really intend on telling this story, but I'm going to tell it. I feel compelled to tell it. And I normally don't tell this story on interviews. And I think I've only told this once or twice, but I feel compelled here to tell it. So that was in 2001. My dad got cancer in 2006, 5 years later, and my dad was in ICU at the hospital here in Nashville. Mm. So I'm sitting with my dad. My dad was my best friend. Jay, you would have loved my dad. My dad was amazing. People loved my dad. Relationship guy. People loved him. Didn't care anything about making money, but people loved him.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there in the ICU with him. He's only got a couple of weeks to live. And my mom was there, and I said, hey, I'm going to go grab lunch. I'll be back in a minute. About an hour, I came back, and my mom was all wigged out. And I said, what's the matter? And she said, nothing. And I said, no, really? Did they tell you something about Dad? Or she said, no. She said, I didn't want to tell you, but I will. And the rooms were glass. There were glass walls, and you could see out into the nurses' station. She pointed through the nurses' station. She said, you see that Filipino young lady there? And I said, yeah. She said she was telling us a story about her dad being killed 5 years ago. And I looked at her. And she said, that's Enrique's daughter. And I said, isn't it amazing? I ran over and killed her dad, and she's taking care of my dad the last 2 weeks of his life. Well, we never told her. We didn't want her to feel uncomfortable. My mom didn't tell her when she was telling my mom the story. And so she never knew. But isn't it, it's just ironic to me at how something like that it comes back around. And so I think, because reaching out, giving my condolences, showing my empathy, my compassion, it just maybe was allowed that she took care of my dad the last 2 weeks. I don't know. Anyway, wow. I just felt the need to kind of tell that part of the story. But wow. the thing is that you've got to be able to accept responsibility for what we do. Yeah. You've got to be able to say it's behind me, and I'm not going to let it define me. And that's what I chose to do.
I mean, Aaron, I really appreciate you for sharing that. I mean, I have goosebumps over here just listening to this and being a part of, this conversation. So, I mean, that's so crazy. Maybe switching gears just a little bit. I know that you kind of took that upon yourself. That was one of the big catalysts for you to start kind of looking at your life, and as you say, go from success to significance. And I know you get a chance to work with so many different, men and people around the world. When you are working with these individuals, what are maybe some of the misconceptions of success? Because, I think people have a certain idea. Everybody has their own definition, idea of success. But for you, you've interacted with so many different people. I'm just curious, what's the misconception of success for all these men that you get a chance to work with?
Well, as I said earlier, Jay, I don't want people to think I'm saying sell your stuff, go to Africa, give it all away to the poor, live on the mission field. I'm not saying that at all. I said earlier, I love to make money. I'm going to make more money. I'm making more money right now than I've ever made in my life. So I don't want to say that you shouldn't make money. But I don't want money to own me. I don't want money to be my God. Money is a tool so that we can live our life, right? It's not our life. I had to define for me what success was. I'm like, people say, what is success? And I started thinking with Robin, we live very proactive. We sit out on our front porch, and we have for 37 years, and we really live intentional. We're very proactive. We don't live reactive. I hate living reactive. Yeah. I want to live my life like I want to live my life. I don't want Jay or anybody else to say, this is the way you should live your life. I said, dude, it's my life. I'm going to live it the way I want to live it. So we're very proactive. But here's the things for me that are important. Choosing my own schedule is huge for me. I've not worked for anybody since I was 18 years old. I'm 56 years old now. I love to get up today and go, I'm going to do this today, or I'm going to do that, or I'm going to do nothing, or I'm going to hook the boat up and go to the lake. It's like, I'm going to decide. But I also like having financial freedom. I like having a little money in the bank where I can pay the electric bill. Yeah. Like, I don't have to worry about paying the electric bill. And that feels good to me. That's successful. I have an engaging family and meaningful relationships. I have a very, very tight inner core circle of people that I have chosen to live life with. And I've got friends now I've had for 40 years. I mean, 4-decade-long friends. And mastermind groups, I've been invested now for 20 years in mastermind groups. I've been with Dave Ramsey since 1995. We're best friends here in Nashville. I was his second sponsor on his radio show. 21 years I was his sponsor on his radio show. We've been in mastermind group together for that long. Dan Miller, 48 Days, Ken Abraham, those guys. I love those guys. Those relationships mean everything to me. My wife and my kids and my grandkids are everything. I love to have a clear conscience. I like to take care of myself physically. I want to be content without being complacent. But at the end of the day, success to me is I want to leave a legacy of wisdom. I don't want people to look at me one day and go, hey, he had some money. I want people to say, hey, my life was better because of this guy. By knowing this guy, my life is better. And I want people to look at me and say, hey, that guy was a wise man. Not he had a bunch of money. See, the significance piece, though, is what I was missing. See, the significance piece is meeting the needs of other people. And you're like, I'm not really good at that. Or learning to fully engage people. Jay, you ever been at a restaurant and you're talking to somebody and they keep looking at the door and they're looking at every table in there. They're not making well, see, that's one of the most disrespectful things you can do to people. What you're saying is what's important is other people and other things, not you. And people, when they coach with me, they say, man, you listen. I'm saying, man, you are important and I need to be listening and make eye contact. And I want to encourage you guys, put blinders on, don't let other distractions wherever you're at keep you from listening to people, helping others when they can't repay you. See, a lot of people help people today because they're going to get something out of it. Right. And there's a list of things that we could do. But at the end of the day, I want to be able to impact people that maybe could have an impact generations to come. And that is significant in the lives of other people. We spend 20 or 25% of our day doing things for other people that have no bearing on my life personally. And when you can look back and say, hey, I impacted that guy's life in a way that I want to be like, whose life can I change today? Whose life can I make better? What introduction can I give people? How can I connect? I'm a connector. Listen, I connect people all the time. Like, hey, you need to meet him? Yeah, I'll hook you up. Yeah. I'll fix you up with that guy. And I'll do that without people asking. Like, don't be surprised one day if I hook you up with somebody that maybe can help you in your space because I want good for you. See, if we would take the approach of being a giver and not a taker, read Adam Grant's book, Givers and Takers. Book's amazing. I don't want to be around takers. I don't want takers anywhere near me. I want a group of people that give. Same way in my masterminds. We have 80 men in our mastermind groups, and one thing that will get you kicked out faster than anything is to be a taker. If you're a giver, you're going to get all you want. If you're willing to bring it, you're going to get. And we've got guys in our mastermind group that are forging relationships. They're doubling, tripling their business. They're starting other businesses. We've had one guy start 5 businesses in 18 months as a result of being in that mastermind because people are coming around him. They're helping him. And he says, changing my life. See, the enemy to excellence is isolation. If you don't get around people, you cannot have a different filter, a different lens. You only got one life experience. You can only see it one way. But when you have trusted advisors around you that can pour into you, you're talking about living a significant life. It's unbelievable. You can't see it but one way. But when you have guys that don't have anything to gain or lose as a result of what they tell you, you're going to get the truth. Not from your family, not from your business partner, trusted advisors that can't gain or lose. Then they're going to tell you the truth. You need to be called out, held accountable. You need to be called up on the carpet and it's like, dude, stop that or do more of that. Push through those upper limit challenges. You can't do that by yourself. You've got to get people around you. And then you're going to live a successful and significant life.
Yeah. And Aaron, I love that. I mean, what's one thing that's so evident to me, even as we're going through this interaction, is that you're so big on relationships, right? From the masterminds to having friends that are multiple decades to your marriage of 37 years. I mean, you just don't necessarily hear about that as much anymore because everybody's it's like how many, when you're first starting, it's like how many customers can I get, how many conferences can I go to, how many business cards can I pass out, right? And it's almost you're focused on almost like the wrong metric. And with you, it's so evident that you're like, I got friends 30 years, got a marriage going almost 4 decades, I got this going, like, and it's so great to have those vantage points. Let me maybe ask you this in your masterminds and what have you, how critical do you think masterminds are to people's success, and I know for you it's made a world of difference, but for the people that are a part of your mastermind, how do you make sure that they're constantly giving from the right place, and so that they can ultimately have, they're part of that mastermind and you can have a successful mastermind?
Yeah, here's the thing. You've got to get people in with the same core values that you do. And I refuse to coach anybody or have them in my mastermind group that we're not doing it in its entirety. Let me explain what that means. I can teach you how to make money. It's really not that hard to make money. It's seriously not that hard. And most people do it to the detriment of their families.
That's right.
And they come home one day with a pocket full of money to a house full of strangers. See, they don't even know their little boy's baseball coach's name. They don't know their wife's favorite color. They don't know the perfume their wife wears. They don't know what their wife did all day because they're out on the grind, the hustle, they're digging. They leave before the kids get up and they get home when the kids go to bed. They don't carry them to practice. They're not there. See, you can come and go in businesses. Business don't have a memory, but your kids do. You only got one go through with them kids. You don't get a do-over, right? It's like when they get 16, 17, they get a car, they're gone, right? You're done. And so I never, ever put business ahead of my family, ever. There's always one more client. There's always one more pawn shop, one more mastermind, one more email. There's always one more. But I only got 2 daughters. And I'm going to tell you something, man. I didn't miss anything. I ran for a political office once, and I missed a cheerleading event. And because of some other political reasons, I quit. I said, dude, if this is where it's going to take me, I don't want any part of it. Because Robin and my 2 daughters and my grandkids are the most important thing to me. And this dovetails on a story. When my dad did die in 2006, he never made over $15,000 a year in his life, ever. And I stood at the casket and I greeted the people coming to pay their respects. The line was outside in the parking lot for 6.5 hours. It took an hour and a half to get through the line. And listen to this, it's very important. If you don't hear anything about this interview but this, hear this. Every person came through from 10 years old to 75 years old crying at my dad's casket saying, let me tell you what your dad did for me. Let me tell you how your dad was there for me. Let me tell you how your dad took care of the children. Let me tell you how your dad did this or that. Not one person in 6.5 hours said your dad had a nice boat, a nice car, a nice house. Not one tangible possession was mentioned in 6.5 hours. And why is it that we spend 95% of our time trying to get more stuff and we spend no time building lasting relationships? See, the world loved my dad. They had to set up extra chairs everywhere. There was people standing in other rooms at my dad's funeral. And my dad never made over $15,000 a year in his life because people loved my dad, because he poured into the relationship. See, it's a piece that we're missing. We don't spend the time investing in those relationships. That's why I've had 30, 40-year relationships, because my dad taught me how important they are. The money will come and go. My dad used to have a saying, son, be really careful when you're climbing that ladder and be nice to the people you pass, because if the ladder breaks, you'll pass those same people coming back down. I never have forgotten that as long as I live. And every person you come into contact with is important. And if we look at them as important, I promise you your life will be better as a result of it. You'll make money. I promise you, if you'll get focused, be an inch wide and a mile deep, you'll make all the money you need to make. But if you do not invest in those relationships, here's what's going to happen. Listen to me, guys, with little kids. You're going to have time at one point and a lot of money, and your kids are not going to know you. And they're going to go on about their lives and live. And you're never going to have that close relationship that I'm talking about. So I want to encourage you today, never, ever put your business ahead of your family.
I mean, we heard it here, and you heard it from the man himself, because, I mean, just getting a chance to be in this conversation with you, it's powerful. And the stories that you share, I really, really, I really appreciate that. Aaron, I know you mentioned off the bat, but before we started this, that, for people that are looking to, maybe run their own masterminds, or just figure out what masterminds are, or if they're a good fit, you have like a mastermind blueprint. Is that correct? So, how can people get some access to the Mastermind Blueprint and some of the interviews that you have going on?
Let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do something for your audience.
Okay.
Is that okay? Can I give them a gift?
Yeah. I mean, my audience loves gifts. Let's do this.
Here's the deal. Here's the deal. This is coming out in June, and June 20th is the launch of my book. So here's what you do. You pre-order my book.
Yeah.
It's like $17.95 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you a digital copy of the Mastermind Blueprint. It's a book I wrote that teaches you exactly how to build your own group. right? I'm not here just to get you to join my group. I'll teach you how to build your own group, and you can build a profitable, these things, you can make a lot of money in these groups. At the same time, you can impact the lives of the members. And so you can have, like I've been 10, 12 years in groups with Dave Ramsey and Dan Miller and those guys. We meet every week in Dave's office, right? You forge those relationships and build your businesses together. People are saying, well, yeah, I would be in there with Dave Ramsey too. Listen, let me tell you something. Dave Ramsey had one radio station when we started. He's in 700 now. He has 10 million listeners today. He gave me advertising in 1995 to train. See, he wasn't the guy then that he is now. Masterminds are powerful. I'm telling you, you ask how it impacted my life. It changed my life for the better because I had guardrails. I had people helping me. I'm going to give you a copy of that book that I wrote. Matter of fact, Seth Godin just endorsed it. He crushed it. He said, this book is amazing. We've got his endorsement right on the front cover of the book. The second thing is I get the distinct privilege of interviewing men all over the world, and we've had some amazing interviews. I just interviewed Pat Flynn, John Lee Dumas, Ray Edwards, Dan Miller, Lee Cockrell. Lee Cockrell was the VP of Disney, a $168 billion organization. He had 40,000 employees. He ran 5 resorts. You don't tell me that guy hadn't got some nuggets to offer. I've got an hour interview with all those guys. I'm going to give you those interviews also. So the Mastermind Blueprint, 5 interviews, go to viewfromthetop.com/book. And pre-order it before June 20th, and you get it all.
Yeah, I love that. So changemakers, if you're listening to this, you're watching this, and it's before June 20th, which I know you guys, it hopefully is, make sure to get on that because that's a pretty amazing package there. And you get to hear and experience a little bit of Aaron. And obviously, as he puts together, everything he does is a little world-class. So Aaron, I got a last couple questions here for you, and these are questions we always ask, the honored guests that have been on the Inner Changemaker. The theme itself, you mentioned it before, legacy over currency, right? And I know you have so many great things to say about success to significance. How do you view your own legacy as you're building out these videos, right? I see you every day, every week, live on the Greenway. Right? You're doing the Facebook Lives, like you're creating all this content. How does this relate to Aaron's legacy?
Yeah, well, one thing is we talked to my mom. I built a house for my mom on our property, and she was having dinner with us last night. And we built this breezeway between our houses, and so she can come to our house. And it's amazing. It's an amazing experience. She'll be 83 in February. She's in better shape than I am. She'll probably live to be 150 years old. But amazing. Even at dinner last night, we were talking about, hey, why don't you write down some of the family tree? Why don't you tell some stories? Because you're kind of the last link. All the people in our family is gone, but my mom. Yeah. And I said, why don't you write that down? Well, that's not going to be a problem for my grandkids because I've got thousands of hours of video, blogs by the thousands. Yeah. I've got so much. See, that's a legacy. I'm going to leave a legacy, a trail. I went and picked my daughters up a couple of months ago at their homes. They actually live across the street from each other, and they're raising my grandkids like brothers and sisters, and they work here in my office. They each have an office here. So we're a really close family. Yeah. But I started thinking about some of my past, and I said, hey, 9 o'clock Sunday morning, y'all get ready. I'm going to pick you up. We're going to go eat breakfast together, and we're going on a field trip. And they said, what are we going to do? I said, I'm not going to tell you. So I picked them up. Husbands watched the kids and got them in the car. We went to Cracker Barrel, ate, and we took off. And here's what I did. I did my life journey in Nashville. I took them to every house that I was raised in, took them to the schools I went to, took them to all the property we had owned, all the businesses I had started. My own daughters didn't know a lot of my story. They said, Dad, I never knew that. I never knew you owned that or had this business or did this. And see, we mess up by not sharing the legacy. Years gone by, people would lay and tell stories. We're not doing that with our children enough now. So now we have family time. We play board games. We do things with our grandkids, and we tell stories. I want to leave a legacy that my kids say, my dad was a wise man that impacted generations to come. Not my dad had a lot of money. Nobody cares. The truth is they don't. Nobody cares about your successes or failures. The only thing people care about is how you made them feel. That's all they remember. And if you'll do a great job in that, you'll have a legacy that is second to none.
And Aaron, I mean, I gotta tell you, I mean, I don't know, there's got to be a goosebump check. You know, as we're doing this, there's no way for us to validate this, but as you're telling your stories, I mean, I know that the way that you're making our audience feel, and the way you're making, I'm sure you've done so many interviews that you're great at this. But I mean, the way you're sharing these stories is really awesome. So make sure that you guys are following Aaron, whether it is on Facebook or whether it is on Twitter, whether it's on YouTube. Make sure to find Aaron Walker. Make sure to watch some of his stuff and get that daily inspiration. So Aaron, one last question for you, and I think you know what it is, but when you think of the word changemaker, someone being a changemaker, what does that mean to you, or what pictures come to mind?
You know, a lot of people straddle the fence, and I don't like that. I like to be willing to stand alone. If it is in my core values, I'm a person I feel of character and honesty and integrity. But if I really believe in something, I'm willing to stand alone. A lot of people are afraid to stand alone, right? Yeah. They're afraid that this person won't like them or that person won't like them. And your level of influence is directly proportionate to your level of contrast. If there is no contrast, you can have no influence. And so many, many people, you think about today, the people that have had the greatest influence, there are many haters to that, right? But you think about the guy that's a good guy, he's had very minimal influence, there is no contrast. So don't be afraid of contrast. Contrast is a good thing, right? Everybody is not going to like you. Be very careful of the guy that everybody speaks well of. What that means is he's with the person he hunted with last. So I'm okay with having contrast. So I think of a change maker, a person that can humbly say, this is my position, I stand on it. And I think you'll impact lives to come as a result of that, because you have to have a certain level of contrast to be a great influencer.
Aaron, I mean, that was awesome. That was amazing. Aaron, thank you so much for everything, for just sharing so openly with us. And make sure, changemakers, if you're watching this, and make sure before it's June 20th, make sure to go to, what was it? It was viewfromthetop.com/book. Right?
And even after the 20th, go there. Yeah. And I'll tell you a little secret. Don't tell anybody I told you this.
Okay.
But if you'll take a picture of your receipt and send it to me if it's after the 20th, I'll still give you the bonuses. How's that? Okay, I want to be fair with your audience. You only got that on the Inner Changemaker. Hey. I've not made that on any other interview, and I just like you, Jay, so I'm going to give that. So take a screenshot of the book, send it to me, and I'll send you the bonuses. Okay, I really like you, and I want to do something for your audience. So the Inner Changemaker today is the deal.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And make sure to let us know how you enjoyed the interview and what were some of your big takeaways. I know there was a lot. I was writing down notes here right on the side. And, Aaron, I really appreciate the way you told your stories and just how you shared it. So thank you again for coming on the Inner Changemaker and being an example for us all.
Have a good one. See you, buddy.
See ya.